All right, good evening. How's everybody doing? Good. My name is Chris Regan. I don't know some of you on staff here at the House of Prayer. Excited to be here, and I'm just going to introduce Vaughn. I actually was in Kansas City 6 years ago when I met Vaughn, and as you know, he's a naturopath, and we got connected somewhat through the House of Prayer in Kansas City, and I was running the sports department for IHOP Kansas City, not Pancakes, House of Prayer. I had a guy tell me today, he's like, I really thought it was Pancakes. It was funny. Anyway, that's beside the note, beside the point. But yeah, so I said, hey, what if you did what you're doing? Because I met with him and found out the vision for, body, soul, and spirit. And as you're going to hear from him this weekend, and tonight, just understanding that the importance of all three working together in our God-given destiny and our callings in the Lord are on the line in a good way, and we have a responsibility to steward that. And so I've had the privilege, we worked probably for 6 months together or so, and then I moved to Florida, and it was very sweet. We were mad at each other. But we've been talking about bringing him down for a long time, and it just so happened this week it worked out. And so we're thrilled that you guys are here. He's influenced my wife and myself and my family in a lot of ways. And, we're not just here for, I will say this, we are going to learn how to take care of the body and all that, but bigger than that is the why behind the what and what the Lord has called us to, and stewarding what God gave us, called our bodies. And, I've never heard anybody talk about it with more clarity and precision than Vaughn, and so I met with him earlier, just hearing his heart. I'm just pumped for this weekend. So, and encourage you too, if you have friends that you still would want to jump in, please invite them out to join us. And so, I'm going to pray for you, and then we're going to let you take the mic, my man. Lord, thank you for Vaughn, and we thank you for what you're doing, God, in this area. And I ask that the presence of the Holy Spirit rest over this property, over Vaughn as he speaks, Lord. And I pray, God, that you would release what is on your heart through Vaughn's mouth, Lord, and through his lips, that he'd speak with grace and call us, God, to that which you're saying. And I ask, God, that you connect maybe what we've heard in our minds for years and connect it to our heart, Lord. And that you draw us fully to yourself, that you raise us up, God, in the fullness of the calling that you've called us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, brother. I love this guy. All right, so let's see. How many of you have no idea who I am? You've never seen me before or heard of me before? Quite a few of you. Okay, awesome. I love that. How many of you have actually seen some of my videos and kind of followed me a little bit? Okay, a few of you. Okay, cool. All right, awesome. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm not used to holding a mic the whole time, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am and just give you a little kind of introduction and tell you where we're going with this kind of series and how it all developed. First of all, I always love to tell people that I'm 10 years old because I came to know the Lord when I was 33, and I'm now 43. So it's been 10 years. So I have a lot to learn because I'm only 10 years old. Okay? And I love what the Lord's shown me so far, but the more you learn about God, the more you get the awe of God, Job factor happening, and the more you realize you don't know. I have actually laid down teaching. I have over 600 videos on YouTube. That's on my YouTube channel for free. Anybody can watch anytime. But last March, so over a year ago, I actually laid down teaching. And I've laid down teaching before just because the Lord struck me and said, you shouldn't teach right now. You don't even know who I am. And I spent a whole year in Genesis just trying to figure out who God is and how we're designed. And that was one of the most amazing years of my life. But last March, I gave up teaching again just because I'm going to be really honest with you guys, and this whole weekend, just I feel like we need transparency in the church, and just going to tell you a little bit about my journey later as the series progresses. But yeah, I've been in a rough place. I've been in a broken place. I've been in a place of breaking. If you've ever been there, you're going hard after the Lord. You feel like you get a little revelation, and then boom, the Lord shows you I'm going to break you down. I'm going to break you down. I'm going to break you down. And that's the season I've been in right now. And life's crazy. I got a beautiful family. I have a wife. We've been married 5 years. We already have 3 kids. We have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And we run Spirit of Health. And my wife is a physical therapist and a Pilates instructor, and she just opened a Pilates studio. And so we have a lot going on. You know, I mean, I know we all do, but we have a lot going on. It seems insane at times, but, you know, the Lord is amazing. I despise titles. You know, I am a naturopath, but I'm the kind of guy who wants only people to see Jesus and nothing else. I don't really care about titles. I do like to tell people my background because I just think it's interesting, but I did go to school for naturopathy. I worked corporate for 7 years before I got into health, and that's a whole story I might share later, but I'm a certified iridologist. The Lord struck me. I actually went in travail over a couple of scriptures. A lot of people know Matthew 6:22, the eye is the lamp of the body, and if the eye is good, the whole body will be full of light. But it was actually Leviticus 21 that I went into travail over it, related to the priesthood and the purity of the eye. And so iridology is fascinating to me, and you can actually see everything going on inside the human body through the eye. I don't know what else the Lord's going to do with that, but that's been an amazing part of my journey. I trained with 3 master herbalists when I lived out in Las Vegas. I was very blessed to have some amazing teachers out there. So yeah, I've just pursued natural health, and when the Lord's involved, then you realize, like, oh, there's a reason for this. And so my whole life changed after I came to know the Lord, and I had just gotten into health and kind of realized the purpose behind it. We'll start pretty basic tonight. I'm a pretty intense guy. If you've seen any of my videos, depending on which ones you've seen, you might have seen me get pretty fired up. And that's just, it's passion. It's just passion for the Lord, for these temples. It's the jealousy of God. It's His jealousy over you and His temple. And so I'm very jealous for the Lord, and I have zeal for that. And so I get pretty fired up sometimes. We'll just see what the Lord does. I want this to be the Lord and not me. But like I said, we'll start pretty light tonight, but we're going to get into the roots of sickness and disease tomorrow. Tonight we're going to just kind of talk about how amazing God's design is in the human body, understanding the human body a little bit more, because I don't think we understand it very well. Tomorrow's the roots of sickness and disease. So why we have sickness and disease, where is God in all the sickness and disease that plagues us. Then I want to get into fasting. And that's something big on my heart. We could talk all day for 8 hours on fasting without stopping. So if things go a little bit long and anyone needs to leave, I won't be offended. But sometimes I just want to share what's on my heart. And I know you guys have busy lives, and I'm just blessed that you guys would take the time to spend your time with me. It's very awesome. So thank you so much. And then we're going to get into the last class, which sounds pretty intense, but it's called The Deception of the Medical Industry. And I'm going to just kind of get into kind of what's going on with our medical industry. Obviously, there's some good that happens there, but there's a lot there that's not good. And so we're going to talk about that, because one of the heart behind why I even started Spirit of Health, and it happened I literally woke up in the middle of the night and breathed out Spirit of Health. And that's how it kind of started. And we have a few mottos. One is, we love God, we love people, we love health. And I love that saying. But one of the main focuses is that we're fighting for the restoration of God's people. Now, we want wholeness and fullness for all people. We want people who don't know the Lord to come to know the Lord, and hopefully my teachings and videos are bringing those people in, because everybody out there is interested in health and healing and what's going on with their bodies, believers or non-believers. And so I hope it helps to bring people into the kingdom, but really have a passion to show Christians that it matters, our bodies matter, how we steward our bodies matter. That how we steward our bodies actually relates to deep intimacy and connection with the Lord. And so I don't know if believers will fully embrace that unless they believe it somehow affects their spiritual walk. And so that's what I hope to share with people. I really just encourage you to embrace what hits your spirit, and what doesn't, discard it. I'm a man. There's mixture, just like with anybody who teaches. It's not perfect, never will be, but hopefully some of it hits your spirit, and you can, make it part of your spiritual journey. Let's see. And I'm a big picture guy, so I'm going to apologize to you now if you came here expecting to get like a lecture on nutrition and, I should eat this and not this, and why about gluten-free and dairy and all this. Like I don't know if I'll touch any of that. So if you guys want to leave now, you can. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm very much a visionary, prophet, big picture. Like that's just how God wired me. I try to speak logically so that people understand the big picture. I don't think people will maybe do the hard work or make the changes or do the things that's necessary if they don't understand, like Chris said, the why behind the what, the logic of it, the big picture of why this is important. And so I very much speak in a line of just the big picture, the vision. I'm a visionary. My wife's the opposite. She's every little detail down to the T, which is amazing and drives me crazy all at the same time. But I love it because God matched us perfectly. And so she's really, really, really good at the details. And she makes everything beautiful. I give the vision, she makes it beautiful. If you've been in our store, like people just like, I feel the peace of the Lord here. I love this place. It's so, and that's the Lord, and that's my wife. I had nothing to do with that. So, all right. So class 1, the amazing human body. So, I don't know, who thinks our bodies are pretty amazing? Like the way God designed our bodies. They're amazing. Do we think that they're designed just to fall apart and to fail and to have all these things go wrong with it? Of course not. God is a perfect designer. I love to say that he's an architect. He gives a perfect blueprint. It's kind of like, what you use to build your castle with, what your foundation looks like, what kind of building materials you use. And so his blueprint's always perfect. It's just unfortunately through a series of pretty intense circumstances related to sin, our bodies are, a lot of people's are falling apart, or we have a lot of degenerative diseases going on, or people are born with issues and various things. So we'll talk about some of those things. But in general, God designed an amazing, amazing human body. And I'm fascinated. I'm in awe with how complex and how amazing the human body is. I'm just going to give you, I want to give you a few ideas. This isn't in your handout. This is from an old series, by the way. I did Partnering with God with Chris at IHOP, prayer, not pancakes, in 2012. And then I redid the series in 2015. They're both on my website for free in the Education Center. The first one I did was like 14 classes. The second time I did it, I got it down to 10 classes. But it's called Partnering with God. And so these are old notes. So I don't know if I'll fully go through all these notes if you're trying to like follow along. But we will touch on some of this stuff. But I love how God formed us out of dust of the earth, Genesis 2:7. And I think that's very important to understand. He formed us out of the dust of the earth. It was a very intimate occasion because he formed us with his hand. Now the animals, he just said, bring them forth out of the earth. They just came out of the earth. And the variety of animals is amazing. But they just came forth out of the earth, whereas us, he actually fashioned us and formed us with his hand. So we're clearly unique. We're clearly special to God. And we know that. He just put a lot of thought and effort and creativity into human beings because obviously he wanted a family, right? Isn't that God's heart? Is the whole reason he did what he did is so that he could have a family. And so that's us. We're his family. And so we're special to God. And we're made in his image. And what does that even mean? We're made in the image of God. Like you look at our bodies and we have appendix and all these funky little things, and it's like we're made in God's image. Like, I don't know, have you ever really just thought about that? Like all the little things in our bodies and on our bodies and the way our bodies work, and thinking like this is like the image of God we're looking at. I don't know, I can't even wrap my head around that. But what's neat about the body is, at times they've talked about, oh, the body's made of, 5 trillion cells, 6 trillion cells. Now they say it's 100 trillion cells. Now they say that the living bacterial organisms on your body are actually 10 times more than the cells than you have in your body. So if you have 100 trillion cells, you have over whatever that would mean, trillion, billion living organisms that actually make up your body, more than even cells make up your body. I mean, it's so fascinating we can't even comprehend it. Everything happens at the cellular level. We know that there's cells now. We know that we can look at them under a microscope, and each one of them's like a little city. And the way our bodies and our health of our bodies actually work comes down to how the cells work at the cellular level. It's fascinating. We never knew this stuff before we created all these microscopes and different things. I don't know if it's good or bad we've discovered all these things, but we have. We're going to talk about minerals just because God designed the human body out of dust of the earth. And so we are made of, like it or not, you're made of dirt, right? That's how we're made. But understanding that's actually really important to human health. The life of all flesh is in the blood. The Lord talks to me a lot about the blood and the importance of blood, and I'll get into that definitely more. But the body fights to protect and keep the blood healthy. The body's always fighting to keep blood healthy. I mean, blood, like, what do we talk about when we talk about Jesus and what covers us and what heals us and what sanctifies us and what purifies us? It's his blood. It's that perfect, pure, unadulterated, clean blood. And so your blood's important too. And you don't want to make it dirty, and you don't want to pollute it, and you don't want to defile it, because it's tied to holiness. Because the Lord's blood is perfect and undefiled. And the body's designed to keep blood clean and healthy. The human body has over 250,000 miles of tubes and passageways. Is that crazy? So the estimate of the cardiovascular system on the low end is 60,000 miles. On the low end. Some say up to 100,000 miles. So 60,000 to 100,000 miles in your body, there's that many blood vessels. I mean, can you fathom that in your brain? You can't even fathom it. And then you think of people having problems with circulation and getting blood flow cut off and having heart attacks and getting neuropathy and losing feeling in their fingers and their toes and their blood vessels and their capillaries dying. Why are these things happening? So 250,000 miles. Of the cardiovascular system, 60 to 100,000 miles, there's at least 2 times more, if not 2 to 3 times more, lymphatic vessels in your body. And some people don't even know what their lymphatic system is. But the lymphatic system is your sewer system. It's your waste system. It's what pulls and cleans your blood, pulls all the cellular waste out of your blood, keeps your blood clean, and cycles all that waste out of your body through your kidneys or through your skin. It's called your lymphatic system. You'll know about it if you have lymphoma or lymphedema or breast lumps or breast cancer or any variant leg veins, spider veins. There's all kinds of issues related to lymphatic congestion. You just don't hear a lot about it. It's the most important system in the human body for human health, and the medical system pretty much ignores it. In fact, there's just articles coming out recently about like how amazing the lymph system is, and like this, not like it's almost like a new discovery. It's like, my gosh, people have been talking about the lymphatic system for thousands of years. So lymph is amazing. Again, just the way God designed this body to constantly cleanse and heal and purify itself. It's sometimes it shocks me that like we even have sickness and disease, and how amazing God created the human body. I think it just shows how far over the generations we've fallen. Your car that you have was designed. God designed you. So just like you'd take care of a car and there's certain things you have to do to your car, like, you don't just never change your oil and never change your air filters and never change your tires. You'd let your car would fall apart. But our bodies, we sometimes take better care of our cars than we do our bodies, right? We don't cleanse them. We don't think we need to change the filters. We don't think we need to purify them or heal them or cleanse them. We just think whatever happens, happens, right? And that's life. So I just like that analogy of like a car. I mean, the fact that your body's designed means that there's a designer that designed it to function a certain way, and there's certain things you need to do to your body to keep it running and functioning efficiently, just like you would your car. The body is designed to heal itself if we're cooperating with God's design. So I'm going to get into that more, but the body's always in a self-perpetual state of healing. Always, constantly. And if you think about why, well, when he designed Adam and Eve, were they designed to die? No. Adam and Eve were designed to live forever. Your bodies are designed to live forever. That's how they're designed, to never die. So it's designed to heal itself. And I love talking about healing because I love to say that anybody can heal their bodies of anything, anytime, because of the way God designed your body, if we can get out of the way. That's the problem. We're in the way of how God designed the body to work. We're in the way of allowing the body's self-healing capacity to come forth. We're in the way just because of our wayward ways, the things we do to our bodies. I'll talk about that later. All right, so I want to... Did everybody get this other little handout, this introduction handout? I just want to touch on these things briefly. I did a whole series called Healing by Design. And what's funny is I could keep redoing that series over and over and over again just because, we're always learning new things. And, some of the things I said before I learned are wrong. And, we can always learn and grow and say different things. And so that series, this was from the introduction to that series, but that series actually went A to Z through every major health condition. And I did a whole hour class on it, on like why we have this health issue, how it's out of balance with how God designed the body to function, and how to bring it back into balance. So I started at A. So I did allergies and asthma and Alzheimer's and da-da-da-da-da, and then all the way through Z. And so this is from the intro class to that. And I just want to go through this briefly because I think these are key points for you guys to understand. Just going to start with hope. People are sick out there. I've struggled with my stuff. We're not immune to it. My wife, my kids, everybody at our office. I mean, you think people that are into health like live some perfect life or something, and trust me, it's far from that. We're all in a battle. And we've all struggled with various different issues. But I want people to have hope, because you don't necessarily, I'm not saying God doesn't use sickness, but we don't have to be struggling with a lot of the things we're struggling with. And we know this. We know this is true. If you look at history at all, you'll see that pre-1900, cancer was basically non-existent. Diabetes was pretty much non-existent. A lot of these diseases are diseases of affluence, of having too much, of a modern culture, of living in a safe, happy, comfortable world where we can eat what we want when we want. So a lot of the afflictions that are upon us are clearly of our own hand. We know that. Okay, we don't necessarily know how to change it, but we know it. And so, but I do want people to have hope that, God is a healer. And not only does he heal through miracles, but the body's designed to heal if we can learn how to align with how God designed the body to function. Again, get out of the way, cooperate, and align with design and creation, and the body will heal itself. God never changes. So why are we having so much sickness and disease now more than ever before in history? And our children are suffering now before ever more than history. You go back 2 generations, did kids have like any of these issues all these children seem to be having today? Even 2 generations ago, like what is going on? Is it because God changed? Or he's like extra mad? He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. He will never change. We have changed. We have erred in our ways, and we have to return back to him. That's the whole cry of one of the reasons I started Spirit of Health. Is just let's get people to turn back to God and back to the ways, the ancient path. That's what I'm looking for. I want the ancient path. Peace has made us weak. That's a strong statement. That was spoken by a prophetic guy I won't name right now. But it's very true. We live in a comfortable society. And when there's peace, there's weakness and there's complacency. And people don't fight. And the devil just wreaks havoc on people when they're peaceful. And so we have to have a reason to fight. And sometimes it's getting sick that makes us fight. It's sometimes getting a disease that makes us fight. It's sometimes your child getting sick that forces your whole family to change and to fight for that child. And so, this is one of the reasons that God doesn't just zap and heal all of our problems. Clearly there is a use for all of these issues that would produce a change at the heart level where we would actually wake up and we would change and we would do something different. The God of design, the God who does miracles is the same God who designed us to function a certain way, just like I mentioned the car example. And so I love saying that, he's the God of chemistry, he's the God of botany, he's the God of physics. He is science. That is God. There's cause and effect on this earth, and we'll talk about that a lot tomorrow morning when we talk about the roots of sickness and disease. We'll relate it to a lot of it to cause and effect. Dust of the earth. We're made out of dust of the earth. God speaks through our body. So we gotta believe that what's happening to our body is what's supposed to happen and how God designed it to happen. We don't. We think our body's going wrong and it's failing, and let's run to the doctor and let's get some medication to cover up this symptom that I don't like. And we just have a total misunderstanding of the human body and how it's designed. I'm going to go through all these in more detail later, so I'm just kind of touching on them. Choice determines health. It's a choice. It really is. How we take care of ourselves, how we steward our bodies, what we choose to set our eyes on, what we choose to spend our time doing, what we choose to eat and put in our bodies, it is a choice. We all struggle with issues related to our past and our histories and addictions and emotional eating and, whatever. There's all kinds of issues going on, but it's really a choice. And, it's not like that's unbiblical. God said, the thing that strikes me the most is you would have to choose to live a crucified life. What did God say? What did Jesus say to his disciples? He said, deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. You have to make a choice to live a crucified life. You have to make a choice to deny yourself. If it's about you and it's not about God, you'll never flow in the fullness of what Christ would have for you because there's not enough room for him. So it's tough, but it's a reality that we have to choose. We have to choose a crucified life. We're designed to heal. I mentioned that, if we can get out of the way. Our body is our temple. There's all kinds of temples in the Old Testament that aren't around anymore. And, thankful to Jesus and what he did, that now we're the indwelling house of the Lord. We're the tabernacle. The Holy Spirit, Jesus, resides in us. And so, doesn't it just seem logical that we take care of the bodies that are the indwelling place of the Lord? It's so funny that, we just don't take care of ourselves, even though, this is our tabernacle. What was that quote I saw? We posted on our Facebook one time. It said, if you don't take care of your body, where else are you going to live? So, and then return to God. Again, there's no solutions. We'll talk about kind of the man-made system and some good that's come out of that, mostly bad. God's pretty clear in the Bible about, the touching things with our own hand leads to error. But in general, we just got to return back to God's way. The way he designed us to function, the way he would originally intended and desired for it to be in the Garden of Eden when he created us. I mean, I had that revelation a while ago where I was just like, wow, God, like, I think of, just all is vanity that, Solomon said, 100 times over. But I just realized that all we need is God in a garden. I mean, who wants to just get back to God in a garden? I mean, yeah. And God in a garden, I mean, we have paper and chairs and tables and lights. I mean, we just need God in a garden. We don't need any of this stuff. It's so crazy that it really is just all vanity. It's all for naught. And he'll restore it all, back. But man, I just long for just God in a garden. And, I live in a city and sit behind a desk and talk to people about health and how they should be out in the sun. And I sit behind a computer and stare. I mean, it is crazy. I'm like, Lord, okay, I'll take this as training, but I want to be in a garden really soon. Please. I'll take Florida. I'll take a garden anywhere. I did that for you, Chris.
Come on.
All right, so creation story. So I put, are we spirit or earthly, or are we both? I mean, we are designed to have 1 foot on earth and 1 foot in heaven, right? That's been prophesied over me a few times. But that's what we're designed to be. We're designed to have a foot on earth and a foot in heaven. The thing is if you don't realize and have the reality that you have to have a foot on earth and you live in a fleshly body, and you have to take care of your fleshly body, again, there's nowhere else you can live if you don't take care of that fleshly body until we're resurrected, until there's no sin, until there's, everything's perfect and glorious and wonderful. You have to steward and take care of that physical body. And a lot of times in the body of Christ, we forget that. We're so up here that we forget we have to live in both. And God designed us out of the earth, but wired to connect to God in heaven. But fashioned out of the earth, but wired for heaven. Just have to remember that. And so we have to take care of us on the earth. And minerals are amazing. Like, I've been into minerals, and this is probably the only class where I'll probably really talk about some like nutrition stuff and all that. And I'm welcoming to questions. I didn't mention this, but like maybe after class we can do questions. But I'll talk a little bit about just related to design, minerals and certain things here, because I mean, there are people who have dedicated their lives in nutrition just focusing on minerals and how it affects human health. You can take certain vitamins and minerals out of the diet of animals and they will have stillbirths, their babies will be born deformed. I mean, you can cause all kinds of issues through having deficiencies. I mean, and this is like old school stuff that we don't hear about a lot, but they knew vitamin D, which is really sunshine deficiency, would cause rickets or different bone diseases. And there's all kinds of diseases related to mineral deficiencies, vitamin deficiencies, good old scurvy, right? Who gets scurvy these days? You remember scurvy? That's where the word limeys came from, because the settlers on the ocean boats, they realized that limes had vitamin C and they wouldn't get scurvy if you ate the limes, so they loaded the boats full of limes, and that's why they called the sailors limeys. But so they wouldn't get scurvy. But it was a nasty disease. People were bleeding out of their veins, bleeding out to death because of not enough vitamin C. Crazy. Like, again, you probably don't have that issue in Florida, right? Do you guys eat citrus? So not a big challenge here. But believe it or not, people still have scurvy. I saw people with really, really weak veins, and they're really deficient in vitamin C, and it's amazing. So we really do have to take care of the physical bodies while we're on this earth. if you look at them, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on all this tonight, but I do want to mention a couple of things that's fascinating. And if you're interested, I did do a whole series. It was actually birthed out of the whole year I spent in Genesis. Like, I could not get out of Genesis. The Lord would not let me out of Genesis for a year. And I was just getting revelation on how God designed us and how he formed us. And he said, teach my people. And it's hard because I'm like, I don't really know anything, Lord. But he told me to. And so I'm doing my best. But I got so much revelation out of spending a year in Genesis that I did a series called Foundation of Creation. And again, it's on my website. It's free. And I did an hour and a half where I just talked about minerals. An hour and a half where I just talked about probiotics and living organisms and the living bacteria that's in our bodies. So if you are super nerdy and you want to listen to all that stuff, it's great. Some people are totally into it. Some people whatever. But it is interesting, and you can get a lot more watching that series. Now what's funny is that series was supposed to be 10 classes, and I think I ended at 5 because I was going to do 2 classes on food. I did 1 class on food, and then the Lord struck me and ended it because and that was years ago, because I have a long way to go on revelation of understanding of the human body and what we should be eating. And so I'm still working through some of that stuff. But as far as the minerals go, it's really cool that if you look at the mineral breakdown of the mineral composition of the human body, it's pretty much identical to the mineral composition in the crust of the earth. That's not a big surprise. So, evolutionists would say that's proof of evolution, and creationists would say that's a proof of God's design. We're made out of dust of the earth, right? They both got their arguments. One's right, one's wrong. But it's pretty fascinating. And, I don't think anything by God's design is a mistake. I don't think it's a mistake that the body's 70-75% water, the earth is covered with 70-75% water. If you take ocean water, this is fascinating. I actually sell, one of my favorite supplements to sell is I give people minerals all the time. I mean, people are cramping, people can't sleep, people have anxiety, people can't calm down. I mean, there's so many issues related to mineral deficiencies, it's mind-boggling. And people just start taking basic minerals and things get better and people's lives change, and it's pretty cool. So ocean minerals are really, really fascinating. I actually sell, I kind of joke about this because it's kind of sad that we have to buy supplements, because of the world that we live in, and we just don't live in these things anymore and have access to them in our daily lives. And so we get all out of balance, and then we got to go to a health food store and spend money on supplements. And I don't know, it's just so ironic to me. Again, I just want God in a garden. If I was back in the garden, I wouldn't have to worry about any of this. So, but ocean water is amazing because now you have to evaporate out the sodium, because obviously if you just drink salt water, eventually you die of dehydration. So if you evaporate out the sodium, the mineral composition of ocean water is the exact same as human blood plasma. Exactly the same. There were studies done in the late 1800s, early 1900s, where they would give blood transfusions to people with ocean water, and they were perfectly fine. And to prove this, what was that guy's name? Rene Canton. You can look him up. Quinton. Rene Canton. He's a French dude. And just to prove this, and so sorry for you dog lovers out there, but what he did to prove this is he let out 60% of a dog's blood. So taking out enough of his blood not to kill the dog, but took out 60% of his blood, completely replaced it with ocean water, and the dog lived a long, fine, happy life. So in the war, when they ran out of blood plasma, because there's just always a shortage of blood, with the war, they would use ocean water, and it would work like blood plasma. So blood plasma is your extracellular fluid, which is your lymphatic fluid, which is the fluid designed to keep your blood healthy and to keep your lymph moving. And so ocean minerals are amazing for people. It's one of my favorite things to give people. The one I use is called BioCen. It's the main company that did all the research behind that back in the day, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And what's really cool is a lot of this research was done related to pregnancy, pregnant women, children, women with infertility, women having children with deformations and different things with the children. And when they'd give the ocean minerals to the women, all the issues went away. Infertility issues went away, deformities went away. They've seen malnourished children, like the really skinny at birth, can't gain weight children. They give them the ocean minerals and boom, in 3-6 months they'd be fat, plump, healthy babies. Eczema, they showed these pictures of children, their whole body's covered in eczema. They'd start doing the ocean minerals, they'd completely go away. I mean, just fascinating stuff. And again, the fact that we don't know about any of this stuff, we don't hear about it, our medical industry doesn't talk about it, I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's almost like a conspiracy theory. Okay, so sorry, I had to go there. All right, so minerals are they're the spark of life. I love saying like your body's a giant ocean of electrical activity. You can't see inside your body, but your body's electrical activity. It's like an ocean. It's like a conductor. We know it's electric because if you go to the doctor and you think you have a heart problem, you do an EKG or you do an EEG, or if you die for a minute, they'll shock you back to life. Okay, so the body's electric. So I love freaking people out, and especially Christians, and talking about energy and energy medicine, because I love all that, because it's all God. And I know there's weird stuff out there. However, I love how God designed us. And we are electric, and it's like a battery. It keeps our batteries going. Minerals are the catalyst to keep the batteries in our body working. There was a guy named Dr. Wallach. He was a pretty intense guy. You know him? He wrote a book called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. And that's because he did all his research and he found that the average medical doctor lived to 56 years old when the average life expectancy is 77. But he was big on mineral deficiencies. And what was fascinating about him is, I mean, he did autopsies on thousands of human cadavers and animals. And he got so famous, I guess could be the word, or well known about what he was doing, is he would get calls all the time from zoos, animal clinics, farms that owned animals, that had large amounts of animals. And when the animals were dying or the animals weren't doing well, they would call Dr. Wallach. He would go in, he would autopsy the animal, and he would say, this animal has this deficiency. They'd correct it in their diet, and the issue would go away. For example, there was a turkey farmer who had 100,000 turkeys die in 1 year. All these turkeys got aneurysms. Turkeys got aneurysms. Called Dr. Wallach, did an autopsy, showed they had a copper deficiency, started adding copper to the feed of the turkeys. Next year, no turkeys died. I mean, he wrote a whole book that talks about all these mineral deficiencies and how it's tied to all these diseases. So again, it's interesting. And I'm not saying you gotta, again, read all these books and do all these things, but it's not a bad idea to take minerals or something just to kind of like help your body work the way it's designed. There's macro minerals, there's micro minerals, but a lot of people know about calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, electrolyte minerals. Believe it or not, tons of people are sodium deficient, and I feel all kinds of people actually give salt, and it helps them tremendously. It changes their lives. Oh my gosh, I can eat salt, And not everybody, but some people really, really need it. So you can check out Dr. Wallach's stuff. It's pretty interesting. All right, so let's see. What else do I want to cover? Plants. Does anybody have a garden or take care of plants? Do you give them minerals, fertilizer, water? Yeah. I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, you know that if you don't have the right mineral balance, or if you don't give them the right minerals and the leaves start turning yellow, there's a problem, or there's a mineral deficiency, or the soil's too alkaline and the soil's too acidic. And one of the things I did in that Foundation of Creation series is I really talked about how fascinating it is, the parallels between the earth and the soil and our bodies, because we're fashioned out of it. And so just like you take care of your plant, and you got to have the right pH, and you got to have the right minerals, and you got to have the right water, it's the same for your body. And again, it's amazing that we sometimes take better care of our plants or our cars or our animals, and we don't do anything for ourselves. You know, farmers learned forever ago, decades ago, that the horse feed and the cows and the goats and the chickens and all the animals, they would put minerals and different nutrients. This is actually what got Dr. Wallach on his journey. I don't know why I'm talking about him so much, but it's what got him on his journey is he found that like animals would get diseases and deficiencies and all these problems. They started putting all these vitamins and minerals in the feed, and the animals stopped having all these problems. So again, it's just amazing that we take better care of our animals. Anybody have farm animals and feed them nutrients and vitamins and minerals or anything like that? You do? Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, again, it's just interesting that our bodies are made out of this. They're composed of these things, and we do have to take care of them. Now, obviously, if you eat good and you eat lots of fruits and vegetables and different things, you know, you can get your minerals, but we're chronically out of balance. We're chronically deficient in so many of these different things. It's interesting. They even have a disease name for it, right? Pica. You heard of that? Where people crave dirt, or the pregnant women crave dirt, or children crave dirt, and they call it a disease. You know, because God forbid they would like actually want something natural from the earth. Like they must have a severe brain disorder, right? So, but yeah, I mean, it's a mineral deficiency. When you're pregnant, you need more. You need more minerals. Like pregnancy exposes a lot of the health issues that a woman might already have. But just that extra stress, extra burden on the body will like actually bring a lot of stuff out and expose a lot of things in pregnant women. Probiotics, I put a scripture there just because I think it's funny and I don't have like full revelation on it again. But in Job he says, "Did you not pour me out like milk and curdle me like cheese?" So that's what like probiotics and these living organisms are, like that fermentation process, that curdling process. And that's how it actually started back in the ancient days, is they had animals and the stomachs, they would cut them out and dry them, and they'd use them as sacks, and they'd carry liquids in there, and it would ferment, and they'd drink it. And it's just interesting. That's how some of that stuff started. But like I said, probiotics were living organisms. We're made of trillions and trillions of these like living bacteria. So I think that's fascinating. Our world is teeming with living organisms, obviously. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are causing a lot of problems, which we well know. But I love talking about what I call the land versus seed theory. And that is, it's basically the reality that it's not about the germ or the bug or that, it's about our bodies. It's about the land. You know, if our body's a vessel, then what happens inside the body and to the body is related to how healthy the vessel is. You can't always just blame the infectious organisms. It's just like, you know, when a family gets sick and like mom and one child gets sick, but dad and the other 3 kids don't get it, and like who can explain all that, right? But a lot of it has to do with the health of our own bodies, how healthy our land is. And so again, I think that's important for what's coming. I think that's what's really important for the future. I'm not going to talk about it now because I can get really super intense about it, but like that's one of the main issues going on in our culture today is infectious disease. Infectious disease is a big, 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 big deal. And it's not just the infectious organisms. It's the weakness of our bodies. It's the weakness of our immune systems. So how do we change that? How do we strengthen them? How do we get them back to being like this body that God designed to live forever? You can read all that stuff about what probiotics do. It's pretty cool. All kinds of things destroy our bodies and our guts. Anybody heard of leaky gut? That's kind of like a big thing now. Yeah, leaky gut. It's a very, very, very real thing. It's a horrible thing that's happening. And it's from all the medications and all the drugs and the birth control and the aspirin and the pesticides and the herbicides and the food to some extent, but it's more the chemicals and the toxins and all the poison things we put in our body. You know, our guts are designed like it's supposed to be one tube that's pretty much separate from the body, from the mouth to the you know what, and it's a tube that's separate from the rest of the body because it's designed to digest food, eliminate the waste, and just those microscopic cellular things, nutrients that the body needs is the only thing that's supposed to get through that gut lining. But that's not what's happening with leaky gut. So that is a big, big, big deal. The blood. Just want to touch on this real quick. God designed the body to keep the blood clean. And I'll talk more about it later, but it's the sanctity of human blood. I get fired up talking about the blood, all the damage we're doing to our blood and our bloodstreams. I get really worked up about vaccines. Anything we do that destroys how God designed the body to work, that's contrary to God's design of the human body. You know, we have an immune system, and things go in our mouth and our nose and on our skin so that it can stay out of our blood. So why are we injecting things straight into our body and straight into our blood that, you know, have poisonous chemicals in them? So again, it's totally contrary to God's design of the human body. It's man's way, not God's way. So if you think about it, it's fascinating that you think about, what do these organs do? You have all these different body parts and all these different organs. I mentioned the lymphatic system. It's 2 to 3 times longer than the cardiovascular system, and it's designed to clean the blood. That's its sole purpose, is to keep the blood clean and healthy. And when that gets stagnant, we're in trouble. It's like the sewer system in your house getting backed up, and you don't do anything about it. That's sickness and disease. You know, sickness and disease doesn't just strike out of nowhere. So there's always a reason for it. What do our kidneys do? It's not a trick question. They filter blood. What does the liver do? Filters blood. What does the spleen do? Filters blood. We have all these body parts and these organs and this immune system. What does the intestinal tract do? Keep out anything that shouldn't be in the blood. Right? The blood's important. Your blood is really, really, really important. And God designed you to keep your blood healthy and clean. So that's why we have to be really cautious about medical treatments we're doing that invade the blood and the bloodstream, or getting leaky gut and different things that make easy access for contaminants to get into the blood, or just the overall overconsumption and overpollution of our body that backs up the system so much that the blood starts to get congested and toxic and sick and weak. I mean, in Chinese medicine for 5,000 years, all they focus on and talk about is the blood. I mean, has anybody been to like a real Chinese medical guy that's like read your pulse? Have you done that? Did he freak you out? No?
I was a female.
Okay.
But she's pretty cool.
Okay. I mean, some of them read your pulse and like tell you your life story and your health history, and it's like, what? You know, it's amazing. God's amazing. And there's so much that we can learn and know through the blood. And I'm really highlighting the blood because it's about Jesus and it's about blood. And there's a connection between his purity and his holiness and his blood covering and our purity and holiness and how we connect to God through purity and through holiness. It matters. It matters. We can't just do what we want and pollute our temples and expect to have like this amazing relationship with the Lord. But that's what we think. Now, I'm not saying you can't eat junk food and love Jesus. You totally can. Lots of people do it. And they still have crazy impact, and they still get touched and anointed and see miracles. I'm just saying there's different levels. There's different places you can go by choosing more purity and more holiness and more sanctification and more cleansing and more fasting. All right, light. You know, Jesus said we're 2 things, right? We're salt and light. Salt's a conductor of electricity. Light that's God. It's the essence of God. It's 1 John, right? God is light. God is love. So light's cool. They actually say that your cells have light in them. Yeah? We're designed to absorb light. I don't think, you guys are from Florida, so I hope none of you actually think the sun's bad for you, right? You guys? No. I know, some people do. I know, that's what we're told. I know. So God, I don't know what you were thinking when you made the sun. Just let's rethink that whole creation story. It's just so ironic that we think the sun's bad for us. It has nothing to do with the sun or how God created the body. It has to do with our bodies and how we're functioning. People throughout all of human history were in the sun all day, every day. They lived in the sun. The body's designed to absorb light. It's designed to absorb light. Why do you think you have melanin and your pigment changes and your skin gets darker when you're in the light? So you can absorb more light next time you get in the sun. Right? Does it make sense? Am I just being logical here or not? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not crazy, because sometimes I am. It's by design, because you're designed to absorb light. People are sensitive to the light in their eyes. That's bad. The more sensitive you are to light, the more sick the inside of your body is. You're designed to absorb light. Your eyes are designed to absorb light. Did I put that scripture in here? Yeah, I did. Ecclesiastes 11:7. Truly the light is sweet, and it is pleasant for the eyes to behold the sun. Now, who here goes out and stares at the sun? See, if I was at a, you probably don't know this guy, but if I was at a David Wolf conference and I said, who out here goes and looks at the sun, 75% of the people would have raised their hands. Yeah. Now, the Bible tells us not to look at the noonday sun, right? But do you not think for all of human history, people watched the sunrise and watched the sunset and were connected to the sun and connected to the earth? My goodness, people worshipped the sun. Do we not think it's good for us? So it's called sun gazing. You can look into it. You can watch the sunrise. You can watch the sunset. When I lived in Vegas, I got up, you increase by 1 minute every day, and it's just sunrise, it's just sunset, the UV's really low, but I got up to watching the sun for an hour every morning as it rised. And I tell you what, it's amazing. You want to connect to God, connect to creation. Again, we think all these things are crazy. It's not crazy. It's how we're supposed to be living. But we're so disconnected. We're so disconnected from creation. We live in our houses and our 70-degree temperatures, and it just cracks me up. So peace has made us weak. So yeah, I'm not joking. The sun is really, really good for you. Google, you'll see all kind of bad stuff out there, but there's all kinds of stories of people sun gazing and healing their eyesight, correcting their vision, because your body's designed to absorb light. Do you know the main way you produce hormones in the human body? Sunlight. How do you think you produce melatonin to go to sleep? Yeah. The body knows to produce melatonin when the sun goes down, which tells the body, I need to produce melatonin, it's time to go to sleep. How else do you know that? Staying up 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, staring at your computers and a TV screen and your iPod and your iPhone? Right. You're so confusing your body. Who has gone camping, and as soon as the sun goes down, you're like, I'm exhausted. Why am I so tired? I don't get it. Because it's the way it's supposed to be. And then what happens? You go to sleep, you sleep like a rock, and you wake up at 5 a.m. because you hear birds chirping. Oh my God. The glory. That's what it's supposed to be like. We totally lost it. We've lost it. I want God in a garden. I want to get back there. People can't sleep. Why do you think people can't sleep?
They're out in the sun.
They're not in the sun. We're looking at electronics. We're inside. My goodness. Do you know how women produce fertility hormones? What are we talking about? Sun. Yeah. When you look at the sun, it stimulates your pineal gland, which is your light receptor, which stimulates all your hormones in your body to produce everything related to your adrenal glands and adrenal function that stimulates the pituitary to create follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone that helps women get pregnant. And we're scared of the sun. It's crazy. Doesn't even make sense. So anyway, I'll get off that bandwagon. But I love talking about light, and we're designed to absorb light. And it's like, I need to come to Florida because I'm on the beach for 2 hours. And my wife's like, wow, you look really tan. And I'm like, no, I'm kind of burned. And it's because I live in Missouri, and it's been in the winter for 6 months. Do you know why people get more sick in the winter? Less sun. We're supposed to be so tan and so full of sun to make it through the winter. Now in Florida, you don't have to worry about that. You can get in the sun all the time. You think people who are tan are unhealthy? Have you seen the tan people that are super wrinkly? Okay, that's not the sun's fault. Okay, they drink and they smoke and they eat bad food. Okay? But we look at them and go like, oh, look at that wrinkly skin. Look at the sun damage. Right? And you have no idea how their lifestyle is. But I guarantee you they don't take care of their bodies. Because have you seen African skin who live in tribes out in Africa? Gorgeous. The most gorgeous human beings on the planet, in my opinion. Seriously, have you seen somebody who's from Africa, that skin, and it's like, oh, your skin. It's like, you just want to touch it. It's so beautiful. It's amazing. I'm serious. Right there, see that? It's beautiful. Can't touch it. Yeah. So it's like that strong stock, man, that living outside, living in nature, living in the sun. And they've been robbed of that. It's so sad, but some of them hopefully still embrace it, but so much destruction in our world. But yeah, people live in the sun all day, every day in Africa still. And they don't, oh, I'm going to get skin cancer. They don't, it's crazy. I'll tell you one story. So I have so many cool stories I could tell you just because I see people all the time and stuff. But I had this gal who came in, and her son had a skin condition, and she just couldn't figure it out to save her life. And so she came in, and she said he only has the skin issue and the skin breakout when he's out playing soccer, and it's only the skin that's exposed to the sun, not anything that's covered. And this is what people don't understand about the sun. What casts out darkness? Light. Okay? So when you get out in the sun, and if you have impurities in your body, it pulls those impurities up into the surface and out. Why? Because God's a good designer. So when people go, oh, well, I got this brown spot on my skin, and it was the sun, and I got skin cancer, it was the sun. No, the body is pulling toxins and poisons out of your body through the sun because that light is pulling the darkness and the sickness and the disease out of your body. There's books written on heliotherapy where thousands of years people treated people by putting them in the sun. You know how they used to heal tuberculosis? Sun. That's it. They didn't need all kinds of fancy schmancy stuff. They just put them in the sun. You guys live by the ocean. You have to eat really bad to get sick. No, I'm just joking. But my wife grew up in Hawaii, and everybody there is overweight, and they got diabetes, and I'm like, you're in the ocean in the sun all day. What's going on? So the sun is amazing, and it pulls sickness, it pulls toxins, it pulls waste out of the human body. Everything in God's creation is not, it's none of it's bad. It's just we don't understand, or our bodies are sick, and we misunderstand what's happening to the body. Okay. How am I doing? Nervous system. I could talk a long time about the nervous system. I love the nerves. I love the nervous system. I never did it, but I wanted to do a teaching series called Thank God for Pain. because I so love the human body, and I so love the way we're designed, and I love the fact that we have nerve receptors that feel pain. Does anybody else agree with me? Am I the only one? You do? Okay. You know, okay. So when you touch a hot stove and you get burned, is that a good thing to learn that? Yeah. Okay. So if we didn't have nerves and we didn't feel pain, all of you would be dead. I just want you to know that. You'd all be dead. Okay? Because we don't know anything. We're like 4-year-old kids, just like, let's touch that. You know? So if we didn't have pain receptors, we wouldn't know there's a problem. We wouldn't know things are out of balance. We wouldn't know we're sick. We wouldn't know that there's some like issue that needs to be dealt with. And instead we see it as a nuisance, and we run to the doctor and figure out how to cover it up. But that's for another class. But I do want to touch on the fact that all symptoms that happen in the human body are good. Now, I want to hit this a little bit, and I know we're probably close on time, but I want to go a little bit longer on this if it's okay. Everything that the body does is because God designed it to happen that way. And we need to be thankful for that. Are we thankful for that? Are we thankful for the headaches? Are we thankful for the upset tummies? Are we thankful for the fevers? Thankful for getting sick? We're not thankful for any of it. I'm thankful for all of it. Because this is a really important revelation that the Lord gave me that I just really wanted to highlight here. You're made in His image. He's jealous for purity and holiness. And if there's anything in the body that's impure, unholy, He designed us to let us know through a symptom. And what do? We cover up the sickness and disease. We push the cold back into the body. We take the aspirin and reduce the fever. We take the immunosuppressant drugs when you have an autoimmune condition. We take nebulizers for our asthma, and we push the sickness and disease back inside the lungs. The medical system works against God's design of the human body. And everything that the body does, God designed it to happen that way. My 3-year-old girl had a fever for 3 days. She was on the couch and she didn't move. I didn't freak out. I didn't give her an aspirin. I didn't run to the doctor. She's stronger because of it. There's documented research that children who have fevers when they're young have stronger immune systems, they're more resistant to sickness and disease, and they have less cancer. Why? Because you're allowing God to do what God designed the body to do. You should never, ever give a child aspirin or something to reduce their fever. Why are we not trusting how God designed the human body? The body's holy. And God's letting us know when there's problems because He loves us, and He's jealous for us to be aligned with Him. And He doesn't want us to be out of balance, and He wants us to correct the problem that's going on inside of the body. I did a whole class on headaches and migraines, an hour class. Like, how do you talk for an hour about headaches and migraines? It's blood toxicity. It's always blood toxicity. Unless you had a brain trauma injury, it's blood toxicity. There's poisons in your blood, and your body's letting you know through a headache. You know, if we could just learn, and this is what our medical system completely fails at, not attempting to understand God's design of the human body, instead saying that, oh, your body's clearly flawed and in error, and let's correct it or fix it or suppress it or, do whatever. You know how they used to treat asthma is they'd let the attack happen, and you have to work with God's design. That's one thing I've learned. If you want to get any sick person better, you have to work with God's design. We think when people have a healing response or a healing reaction, or they get cold flu symptoms, or they break out in a rash, that something's gone wrong, I better stop this cleanse. No, you have impurity and sickness and disease coming out of your holy temple because it's supposed to be out. It's not supposed to be in. And so I wanted to touch, I just felt like highlighting this autoimmune, because I'm not going to talk a lot about specific illness conditions or disease conditions, but I want you to know what autoimmune diseases are, because the medical system is like completely lost on this and like no understanding of it. And again, it blows my mind why they don't learn how these things actually work. But autoimmune conditions are all blood toxicity, and they're all leaky gut. I don't want to say all, because if you get vaccines and you get foreign stuff injected into your muscles and into your bloodstream, and that way, like that direct violation of the sanctity of human blood, if that happens, that can put weird chemicals and stuff in your body, and that can cause autoimmune reactions. But so can leaky gut. So why are people avoiding gluten and dairy and blah, 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 all those things? Why? Because it's undigested protein molecules getting through into places that they should never be. The blood. And when that happens, the body has no choice but to mount a defense. It will create antibodies to attack this thing that's foreign to the human bloodstream, because it never should be there. Unfortunately, a lot of those protein structures are very similar to different body parts. And so that's why we have autoimmune thyroid and autoimmune pancreas and autoimmune this and that. So I just want you to understand what autoimmune conditions are. It's not, you don't need to suppress your immune system. You need to take the offending agent out, okay? Because any undigested food protein molecule can cause autoimmune responses, or different chemicals and toxins and different things. Foods, people are sensitive to food dyes and colorings, and those are all weird things anyway, but they shouldn't be in the body. But again, if you have leaky gut or you get vaccines or different things, you start to get these things into the bloodstream that shouldn't be there. That's autoimmune. So you don't need to suppress your immune system. The immune system is functioning because that's the way God designed the body to work, to function, to attack bad guys, to attack invaders. And that's what it's doing. So you have to cut out the gluten. You have to cut out the dairy. You have to cut out the nuts and the corn and the soy and the whatever you're allergic to. Because clearly there is a gut issue, a digestion issue. And I love talking about the gut and the belly and the fire. And we're going to talk about that when we talk about fasting. But I want you to understand what autoimmune conditions are, because fairly safe to say that everybody here at least knows somebody who's suffering with a food sensitivity or an autoimmune condition. Raise your hand. Almost everybody. Okay? It's an epidemic. And so you have to figure out what the offending agent is get it out, and you got to heal your body. You got to heal your gut. If you just take immunosuppressant drugs the rest of your life, you're shutting down your immune system. You're shutting it down. Does that even make sense? The only time anybody should take an immunosuppressant anything is if they're getting like an organ transplant. But if you have an autoimmune condition, there's a reason. There's a reason. And I know so many people that are just tied to these diseases, tied to this identity of this disease and these conditions, and they listen to the lies of the doctor, and there's nothing we can do about it. And it's just no understanding of the human body. So, all right. I love this quote. I don't think I put it on there. This is John Duyard. He's big into Ayurveda, which is like Indian medicine. But he said, learn how to listen to the body when it is whispering before it starts screaming. But we don't listen to the whispers. We have kids growing up and they're like allergic to this and got an ear infection and a sinus. And, that's just life. Let's just give them a drug. Just move on. Right? It's just part of life. It's part of growing up and being a kid. We ignore the whispering until the sledgehammer strikes. And they're like, okay, what do I do? So I love that quote. Body's designed to heal itself. There's a couple of quotes I put here. I love Benjamin Franklin's quote, God heals all disease and the doctor takes the fee. Right? And then Voltaire said, the efficient physician is the man who successfully amuses his patients while nature effects a cure. So, the body will heal itself. And I don't know why we don't believe that. I mean, we cut our finger and we don't go, oh my gosh, I have cut finger disease and you're going to have this whole life and you're going to have to take a medication your whole life for cut finger disease. You know your finger's going to heal. I mean, you can get in a car accident and break 12 bones. The doctors can set them all and you heal and you'll just be just as strong, if not stronger than before. But you get a thyroid imbalance and the doctor's like, well, there's nothing you can do about your thyroid. You better take Synthroid the rest of your life. Okay, doc. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's no logic. Like, we don't even believe that the body can heal itself. We don't even believe that, like, God is this designer that doesn't create a body that malfunctions, that's letting us know that there's a problem so we can correct it. And it can heal itself. Any condition. And the body is amazing. All organs serve a purpose. You know, they've learned now that we need our appendix. They know now that it's not good to just cut tonsils, kids out, their tonsils out of kids anymore, because it's part of your lymphatic system. So everything's important. Let me see, what did I have to end with here? Oh, and then K, it's kind of on the back, I put, we're designed to live forever. You know, my wife said this, and it kind of struck me when I said it, so I'll just share it. She said, you know, I feel like why death hits us so hard when somebody dies, it's because we're designed to live forever. We weren't designed to die. And it just hits us when that happens, because it's like, that's not how it's supposed to be. So the original intention and the design of your cells and the design of your organs are eternal. They're eternally designed. I mean, what did Jesus say? He said, I give my life away. Nobody takes it from me. Like, he let them kill him. Because Jesus was sinless. He would still be alive today if he wasn't killed. Because he was sinless. It's sin. The wages of sin is death. So some of us just we're all in a different place. We're all in a different place when it comes to that. And we're born into so much. I mean, my gosh, we've been messing up since Adam and Eve. How far gone, are we? I just feel like the last 100 years has been like this crazy, crazy scale of increase of all the chemicals and the pollution and the toxins and the drugs and the medical industry. It's just shot our lifespan. Like they say, our lifespan's getting older. It's like such a farce. But so I love Genesis 6:3. My spirit shall not strive forever. My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh. Yet his years shall be 120. So God, even with sin, even after he wiped out the whole earth, he said we should be 120 years old. And I gave some post-flood numbers just for kicks and giggles. Joseph 110, Joshua 110, Moses 120. And God made it very clear to see that his eyes and the light was still very clear coming out of the eyes of Moses, right? Like, why was God so specific to tell us that with Moses 120 years? Jacob 147, Abraham 175, Isaac 180, Job, who knows, but at least 140. So we'll get into the next class. If the body's so amazing, why are we riddled with so much sickness and disease? Where is God in our sickness? I'm really going to talk about kind of the roots of sickness and disease. I really want our goal, like with health, is to be vessels that can better serve the Lord. Like, who doesn't want to serve the Lord better through their body? Right? I mean, so, I see people, and I'm not picking on them because I have my issues and we all have our issues and whatever, but I get the really, really sick people that I give them a program or a plan or something to do, and they ask me in all sincerity, so when do you think I can eat pizza again? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if we should really be eating pizza again, okay? But I mean, I'm serious. It's like people are so interested in going back to Babylon and back to Egypt that they don't even realize this health issue. Like, they just need to steward their bodies so that they can become better vessels for the Lord, not so they can go back to their old ways that caused the problem in the first place. So that's really my desire, is that we'd all be able to serve the Lord better through taking care of our bodies. Let's see. I had to finish with This is a pretty common one. 2 Chronicles. People know this scripture. You can flip there if you want. 2 Chronicles 7. And I'll end on this note. And so I hope this was light fare tonight, because it'll probably get much more intense just because it's fun. 2 Chronicles 7:11. So Solomon finished the house of the Lord. I've heard your prayer. I've chosen this place for myself as a house of sacrifice. If I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people. And this is the famous scripture, right? And my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven. I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. This is your land, okay? There's no more temples. God's not in the temple, right? Where's the church? The church isn't a building. The church is you and I united together as one in Christ. And so this is our temple. Solomon's temple was destroyed by the Babylonians a long time ago. And God said, "For now I have chosen and consecrated this house that my name may be there forever, and my eyes and my heart will be there perpetually." Okay, and that temple is gone. Thousands of years ago, that was torn down by the Babylonians. But he said, "My name will be there forever, and my eyes and my heart will be there perpetually." It's us. It's our land. It's our temple. And it matters. It really matters how we steward it. And it really matters. It's about honor. It's about honoring God. It's about honoring our vessels. It's about honoring the Lord. It's about actually choosing to create a vessel that can serve God and serve others, and not just a vessel that serves ourselves. Okay? But it's a process. And everybody's in a different place, and I'm in a certain place, and you're in a certain place. And so we just want to get on board. We just want to I like to say, we just need to get on the Jesus train. And I don't care how many times you fall off, but just get back on the Jesus train, because he'll get us there. He's good like that, So it doesn't matter how many times we fall or we fail. So I'm going to end with that. Thank you all for coming, for listening. I hope you guys come the rest of tomorrow. I'm pretty pumped, actually. I'm going to just tell you now because I'm kind of excited. On Sunday, for the church service, I was really praying about what I should do, what I should talk about it. Lord, lead me. What should I do? And I'm actually going to give my testimony. And I've given my testimony before, but it was years and years and years ago. And so it was right after I first came to Christ. And I'll share that. That'll probably be 5 minutes, which that used to be my whole testimony. But now it's about growth and suffering and hardships and revelation and encounters. And I just feel like testimonies are so powerful. And so I just feel like I'm going to share my testimony, and I'll probably cry some and, whatever. But I'm excited. I really want to just share my heart with you guys and share my testimony. So God bless you. Thank you. Love you guys. Great. Yeah, is the camera still going? Is it all look good? Is there still a red light on?
Yes.
Just want to make sure.
The red light's on.
Okay. Yep. Okay, cool. Yeah.
You're okay with the Q&A time?
Yeah. Since nobody's running out the door. Questions?
I have one.
Okay.
How can you tell when your minerals are off other than symptoms in the body? Are there blood tests? How do you conclude that your minerals are
Sure.
balanced?
Yeah, how do you conclude that you have mineral deficiencies? I mean, symptoms is big. I mean, because you can tell a lot through symptoms. That's all people used to have with symptoms. The main way you check now is through hair analysis. Now, I want to mention this because you might find it interesting. Blood, like I said, the life of all flesh is in the blood. The blood's super important. Doctors do not everything. 95% of what they do is based off of blood work. Okay? That's really good, and that's really, really, really bad. And the reason it's really bad is because the body does everything, and it fights and fights and fights to keep everything in the blood that should be in the blood. So you have been chronically anemic for years when it shows up in your blood because the body's already robbed iron stores from every other part of your body, and your liver's not working for you to possibly be anemic. Okay, so I just want to make that point that like we see the blood as this be-all, end-all for medical tests, and it's not. It's kind of like when things are really, really, really off, and they'll check minerals and stuff in blood, but very rarely are they going to be off because the body will pull all the calcium out of your bones and you'll have osteoporosis before it shows low calcium in your blood. So a hair analysis is actually the best because minerals deposit in your tissues. And so if you cut your hair and send it into a lab, you can see if you have heavy metals and you can check your mineral levels. And so that's really the best way is through that. And so I do some lab testing. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in one of the classes, but really the focus is never going to be about me or what I do or whatever, but it is good for people to know that stuff. Yeah. What else? Yes?
If you mentioned stuff about nerves, if you have a Morton's neuroma that hasn't gone away for a number of years, is that something that's a deficiency? And a second question, just if I can throw it out there, if you have family issues of syndrome, factor V, Leiden, sludge blood, and low blood pressure and stuff like that, is that something that you can change with what you're putting in your body?
Say the second part again.
Sticky platelet syndrome.
Okay.
That's in my family.
Okay.
Factor V, Leiden,
Okay.
sludge blood.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, blanket answer, but yeah, obviously anything can be healed. God can do anything. When you're talking about the nervous system, I really feel like, there's always a toxicity, let's just say that. There's always something interfering with how God designed your body to function. Always. And so when you're talking about your nervous system, my default is to usually check for heavy metals or chemical toxicity because those things really, really mess up and damage the nerves. And I was going to share this more later. Oh, should I be using this?
Oh, we can hear you.
Okay. But my daughter was born with mercury toxicity, one of the highest levels the lab had ever seen. She wasn't vaccinated. She was never exposed to mercury. She got it through mom. And so genetic, we pass on toxicity. We pass on poison to our children. There can be genetics as far as like chromosomal issues and, children can be born with Down syndrome and things like that. But most of what we call genetics is really just passed on toxins and poisons.
Like Lyme disease, I know passes down.
Lyme disease can pass on, yeah. I have a friend I went to high school with, him and his wife, and they have 8 children, and the whole family has Lyme disease. It's horrible. It's horrible. So it's an epidemic. So yeah, with neuroma, you can always, I always tell people there's a 1-2 approach. Number 1, you can change your diet, you can take things to help heal your nerves, that's all fine and dandy, but you really want to find out what the root issue is. Is there a chemical toxicity? Is there a medical toxicity? What's damaging your nerves and your nervous system?
I struck it against a parking stop.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't see because the sun was in my eyes when I was looking at something at school and it's been about 5 years.
Yeah.
And so that strike is what initially
Huh.
started the nerves and then the Morton's neuroma in the foot.
Yeah, so there must have been some poor circulation already and it damaged or cut off some blood supply, some capillaries. That's what happens with like neuropathy and Raynaud's and stuff like that, is those little capillaries get closed off, they break down, they start to die. Yeah, and that's why people get gangrene of the foot and get amputations and stuff like that. I'm not saying that, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just saying Like when those blood vessels die, like that's a big deal. But you probably already had poor circulation. You hit it, it damaged it, and it's just not able to repair. So there's different things you can do to repair it. I have enzymes that I'm big on that open up the capillaries, opens up blood flow. Nattokinase is an enzyme that goes in there. It's like Pac-Man. It goes up and eats up old tissue, diseased tissue. It opens up the arteries. There's different energy therapies. I have this mat that's a copper-coiled magnetic therapy thing that opens up circulation in the whole body. For like neuropathy and stuff, it is like amazing. So there's things out there, you know, that you can do. And same thing with the sticky blood. There's a reason, you know, and you can take enzymes and different things to keep your blood flowing, to keep it functioning right. But again, you always want to find out the underlying issue. And if you have thick, sticky blood, there's probably a serious issue in the lymphatic system. Because your lymph is not able to clean your blood would never get that way. So, yes?
You talked about minerals. Do you have information, or are you going to talk about vitamins, or is that vitamins part of minerals, or
Yeah.
multivitamins? I mean,
Yeah, again, I love all that stuff. I just don't really get into it. I mean, maybe another time, guys invite me back. Maybe we'll get to some more basic stuff. But like I said, I'm a visionary, big picture guy. Vitamin actually came from vital mineral. All those vitamins grow through plants out of the soil. And so if you want, I call it fire insurance, and you want to take a multivitamin just because we're super deficient in everything, why not? It's worth $30 a month to take a good multivitamin. But some people, it's better to find out like what their actual issues are, what's going on. I personally feel like a way bigger issue than vitamin and mineral deficiencies is the actual toxicity in the body. You know, you don't get Parkinson's disease just because you like need some more magnesium. You know what I mean? Like these serious issues people are getting there's severe pollution and toxins in the holy temple, you know, and that stuff needs to be purged out. So I'm way bigger on finding the source of toxicity and getting that out of the body. But trust me, as a baseline, when I'm working with people that are sick, I give them ocean minerals, I give them plant minerals, I make sure they get certain vitamins if they're deficient. B vitamins is a super big deficiency. Your liver can't detox, your nerves can't function right without B vitamins. So certain basic things the human body needs. So if anybody's sick or needs anything, like take some basic vitamins and minerals for sure. But there's something deeper usually going on with most people. Yes?
So how are you supposed to purge these things like you're talking about? Like just a cleanse, or like is there? Did you talk about that?
Got a couple hours? Yeah, I mean, it's just cleansing. I mean, if you look at what people used to do, because today it's like run to the doctor, get a medication, cover up your symptom, and pretend like everything's okay. But back in the day, it was like, how do we innervate? So the word innervation, E-N-N-E-R, how do we innervate or stimulate the nervous system to force the body into a healing response that purges and removes toxins and waste from the body? And so the way you do that is through heat therapy, cold therapy, combination hot-cold therapy. There's cold sheet treatments, there's mustard packs, there's cleansing, there's fasting, there's getting in the ocean and laying in the sun, and getting in the ocean and laying on the sun. Anything that can innervate or stimulate healing in the body. People with chronic illnesses, their immune systems are so shut down, they can't even stimulate a healing response. So yeah, there's just a lot of methods out there. I'm really big into cleansing. You know, I have all kinds of cleanses on my website, and colon cleanse, and kidney cleanse, and you know, they're awesome. They change people's lives. I'm probably biggest on fasting, not just for the restoration of the body, but how it restores your spirit. And so I think fasting is our most powerful tool for everything, which I'll really like nail tomorrow because I'm super pumped. I love talking about fasting. My wife thinks I'm crazy because it's all I do. Okay, yes?
Do you recommend the far infrared sauna or the far infrared heating pad?
Yes, I like far infrared saunas. I like heat. My favorite actually is an amethyst crystal mat that we have. It's called a biomat. So it's amethyst crystals and they heat up, and it's like a little mini far infrared session. You can lay on it and you can sleep on it. Like I'll sleep on it and I'll like sweat. I love it. You guys might think that's weird because you're in Florida, but I'm in Missouri and it's really cold sometimes. So, but far infrared saunas are great. We have one at our clinic. Far heat, okay, so this is a cool concept. So thermogenesis, which is heat, it displaces and removes toxins out of the body. Toxins store in fat in different parts of the body, but especially fat cells and organs, fatty tissues. And so the heat displaces them out. So when people like came back from the war and they were full of a biohazard, nuclear warfare, toxic waste, they detoxed them with far infrared saunas to pull the toxins and the waste out of their body. You know, they called it Gulf War syndrome and all these things. And yeah, there's trauma from what you see in war, but most of these guys were poisoned. And so the far infrared saunas will pull that toxins out. I mean, I like to give people simple examples. You wash your dishes at home, you always wash them in cold water, right? No, because heat displaces and breaks things up. And so the saunas are awesome for detox. It doesn't matter if you're detoxing metals, chemicals, infections out of the body. Heat is the best for that.
What about a hot tub?
You can do a hot tub. I don't like it as well. But I think that, you know, and again, it depends on where you're at in your living environment. But the dry heat is really, really good, especially for infections and infectious issues. Like, have you ever known, and again, it might be different here, but have you ever known people who, like, their symptoms change with the weather? And they feel more creaky, and then the sinus infections because the weather changes. Well, that's just because you have critters living in your body, and they get activated by weather changes. So cold, wet, damp environments. That's why people move to Phoenix, Arizona, because the dry heat makes it feel like everything's okay. They just disable the organisms and the infections in their body because they don't. So you do really well in extreme dry heat or really well in extreme cold, because that disables infectious organisms. But all that in between cold, wet, damp, moldy, humid stuff, you feel it, you know. So if that answers that.
So you just sauna and then shower?
You can sauna and then shower. You don't have to shower, but you can sauna and then shower.
Just wondering like how you do that properly, you know what I mean? Like is sauning just like enough?
Well, some of the problem with showering is when you get in the sauna, it opens up your vessels really wide, your blood vessels. And if you jump in a shower with tap water, you're just like sucking all that stuff in. So it's actually a good idea to wait a little bit.
And I have another question on top of that.
Yeah.
Well, actually I have like, there are three, but the two are just yes or no, and then it's like kind of more of a long response. But the first one is, are you a vegan?
No.
Okay. The second one is, are you familiar with Anthony Williams?
I don't think so.
He's like, so he was one of the people that I kind of was into back before I was into Jesus.
Uh-huh.
He's like the medical medium, but he's kind
Oh.
of really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Like, especially the heavy metal detox. And
Okay.
Like, so I don't know if you like actually like agreed with his teachings.
I haven't looked into this stuff, so I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the third one is, so I started going to a Chinese integrated medicine person about a year ago and found out I had leaky gut and all types of other things going on. So I would just take like supplements like licorice root and like all that type of stuff. And like, what is your thing on like healing leaky gut?
It's a whole protocol. I have like a whole leaky gut protocol. It's a combination of diet and supplements and different things. And yeah, leaky gut's pretty challenging. Symptoms of leaky gut mainly would be food allergies, food sensitivities. If you eat something and you immediately get a headache, or you eat something, you immediately get joint pain, or you're reacting to different foods, especially the common allergens like gluten and dairy and any of those kind of foods. If you have any of those issues, there's usually a leaky gut issue. Chronic sinus issues is usually a leaky gut issue.
Maybe talk about, like, a lot of these topics are on your website.
Yes.
Extensively.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
It's got a million YouTube videos.
Oh yeah, I have like 600 videos on YouTube, and I did all those different series, and so yeah,
Amazing what you
yeah.
get people to look at or how to break down.
Yeah, I think information should be free, so I just put it out there. So yes.
Do you take clients and do you sell supplements?
Do I take what?
Clients?
I do. Yeah, I do phone consultations with people all over the place. I've cut it down. I'm down to 2 days a week doing consultations. I love it, but it's totally exhausting. What's that?
So we wouldn't have to go to Kansas
Nope. I meet with people over the phone. I send lab tests to people all over the world. It's actually pretty easy. So what was your other question?
Do you sell your own stuff?
Oh yeah, we have a whole store. It's Spirit of Health. So if you go to our website, spiritofhealthkc.com, there's all of our products. Yeah, sorry.
Recipes.
I'm really bad at like promoting my stuff or whatever. I just want to talk about Jesus and the body. Like, I don't. Yes.
Ridiculous amounts.
It's a lab. Great Plains Lab in Lenexa. There's another one called ARL Labs in Arizona, but I use Great Plains Lab in Lenexa. There's a few different labs out there. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes?
So growing up, I was always told you have your hair, so you have fair skin, you have to lather yourself with sunscreen all the time.
Right.
Because you're gonna burn.
Yes.
Okay, so you put me in the sun
Yes.
for 20 minutes,
Yes.
and by the night, like when I take my shower, I'm a literal lobster. I've had sun multiple sun poisoning. Now they don't know if I'm allowed to. But I was told to throw up for like 2 days because like I was so burned.
Wow.
So does that just mean I just need to stay in the sun?
No, and this kind of goes for anybody really. Morning sun. Morning sun. Take a walk, watch the sunrise. You're probably perfectly fine till 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. But if you get that morning sun, your body will get used to it, start to get some light. Notice maybe your skin pigmentation will start to change a little bit. A lot of it's genetics and heritage and where you're from. You're probably Nordic or something, you know. So that's cool. I think that's really cool. But yeah, you need to start slow and you need to start with morning sun and you need to work your way up. But the sun is not bad for you. Yeah.
So Vaughn, if you moved to Florida,
Yes.
would you put sunscreen on your children?
So this is my general rule of thumb. Okay. Because, you know, obviously we're like all about God and creation and the sun. And so we take our children to the pool. And my wife and I, like, I'm a little bit more hardcore, but I make sure the children get a bare minimum of 1 hour without sunscreen. Because I know the benefits of the sun. And how else is your body going to produce the melanin to create the pigmentation so that you can absorb more light? Because that's what's supposed to happen.
You mean morning sun, not in the middle of the day?
No, sometimes in the middle of the day. Like when we go to the pool with our kids, it's the middle of the day. But I get them at least an hour. And then as the course of the summer goes on and they get more tan, like Noelle, our 3-year-old, she's like my wife. Like she looks at the sun for 2 minutes and she's tan. Okay, that's my wife and one of my girls. The other girl, not so much. She's more like me, fair skin, burn pretty easily. And so, you know, there's a give and take there. But we do use a sun, it's called sun butter. It's made by a local gal in our store, and her stuff is amazing. But we use that, and it won't stick to your beard and make you look white. Chris, did you catch that?
Yeah, the other day.
So, yeah, it's called sun butter, and it's super clean. It goes in really easy, and so I always make sure they get at least an hour, hour and a half, something like that before I would put any sunscreen on. But obviously burning the skin is bad. Obviously you're killing your skin cells, and that's a bad thing. And so you never want to burn. So, anything else?
So sun butter is the sunscreen you put on them after an hour and a half.
That's just what it's called. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of sunscreens and stuff out there, but yeah.
Is there any?
Oh, can I mention one more thing?
Okay, go ahead.
You remember that? Okay. There's this stuff that I use called astaxanthin. I've talked about this in my videos, but it's a red algae. And if you take it every day, it's an antioxidant. It'll actually help your skin and your body to absorb light, and you won't burn as easily. People go on vacation. Hey, I'm going to Hawaii, da-da-da-da. I give them the astaxanthin. They go to Hawaii. They don't burn. It's crazy. So there are things you can take to protect your skin that'll help your body to absorb the light. The other thing is greens. Wheatgrass juice, different kinds of juices, things. The greens will help your body to absorb light as well.
Fresh pressed carrot juice help too.
Carrot juice will help too. Well, more because it helps your liver and cleans your liver. Yes?
Well, I guess this kind of follows up with what you just said. Is there any validity to aging and especially like dark skin of not absorbing enough sunlight and having to take like vitamin D?
Totally. Well, for you, you need more sun. you need to be in the sun more than me because it's going to take you longer to get and to absorb the sun and the light. So that's really what it comes down to. So the darker the skin color, the more sun you need to get actually get and absorb the light and absorb the vitamin D. And you can take vitamin D supplements, but I mean, sorry if I don't know how true this is or not, so don't take it for gospel, but I think most vitamin D supplements are kind of a waste. I mean, unless you take a super, super high dosage and you're never in the sun. But we just really need to be intentional about getting in the sun.
Like Garden of Life, that's the one I take.
Anyone. I mean, as long as it's D3, cholecalciferol, it's like a natural form of it. There's a lot of sunflower vitamin D now. They found sunflowers are actually very high in vitamin D. Imagine that, sunflowers are high in vitamin D. Wow, God's so cool. Should we wrap up?
We're going to wrap up. Yeah.
Okay.
So, you
Cool.
want to pray for us.
Yeah.
And then just real quick, tomorrow, so we're back here at 10 a.m. and we'll do a session till, we might split into 2 sessions, 10 and 11. Do you have 2 sessions planned?
Were we doing 10 and 11 and 1, or was it 10, 1 and 2?
10, 1 and 2.
I think it was 10, 1 and 2.
Here at noon, and then we'll do the 1 and 2, and then after we'll do some Q&A at the end tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah,
so,
perfect.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, pray for us, though.
All right. So, Lord, thank you so much that you're just amazing and you're beautiful, and we thank you for Jesus and his blood and the fact that we all have eternal life through you. Thank you for all these beautiful people that are here, and their hearts are set before you and on fire to do your will and your purpose and your calling. And thanks for community. Thanks for family. Thanks for bringing together just a beautiful group of people that we could be as one in shifting things in the kingdom and changing things on earth. So, Lord, your will be done in this series. We just pray that you would be on it, that people would hear your voice and not mine. We just pray that our spirits would be touched and we'd be commissioned to change and to be more holy and to be like you and to just manifest the fullness of what you'd have for us, that we would be full vessels of light and that you just restore the fire in us in any areas where we've grown cold or there's darkness, Lord. We just ask for the revelation of that light. So we just pray for truth. We pray for wisdom. We pray that, as it says in Hosea 4:6, my people perish for lack of knowledge. We just pray that knowledge and wisdom would come forth and that your name would be known throughout the whole earth and that we'd all come into fullness and one with you. So just bless our time together, our fellowship time outside of doing the classes in the series, and that we just all grow closer together. We love you, Jesus, in your name. Amen.
Amen.